Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about this huge breaking news, and that is that the Writers Guild has finally come to an agreement with AMPTP, basically the studios. So it's huge news for the shows you love, the films that you're looking forward to, but especially Superman and Lois, because we need to get writing, we need to get going with season 4, so let's talk about it. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay guys, so this is breaking news. This is coming from WGA, but also I got a Variety article that we're going to break down. So finally, we've got a deal between the WGA, who is the Writers Guild of America, basically the guild where basically all of the writers who work in America are all under. So basically they have to follow the WGA rules, otherwise you can't be a member of the guild. And so for over 146 days, there's been no writing going on in Hollywood, around America, or pretty much anywhere else wherever someone is a writer and they're a member of the guild. And so finally, according to all these sources, they've reached an agreement, and let's break this Variety article down because this is huge news for Hollywood. So Hollywood heaves a sigh of relief. The WGA and major studios and streamers have reached a tentative agreement on a new 3-year contract that promises to end the 146-day strike that has taken a heavy toll across the content industry. Just before we move forward with this, it has to be noted this is only a 3-year deal, so once we get to that 3-year mark, or just before that 3-year mark, where they would be doing renewals of the contract between WGA and the studios and streamers, they're probably going to try and rejig things, and if things don't go WGA's way, I guess there is always the chance that in 3 years time, or like 2.5 years time, you could see another mini strike. It depends if the studios want to avoid a repeat of this year, which you would suspect they would want to avoid. So negotiators for the Writers Guild of America and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is basically the studios, they have reached the finish line Sunday after 5 consecutive days of negotiations. Day 4 on Saturday mostly involved lawyers for the guild and AMPTP hashing out the fine print of language around complicated and groundbreaking additions to WGA's minimum basic agreement. So basically, you know, they had to hash out everything that was on the contract, and so the nitty-gritty details of language around the use of generative AI in content production was one of the last items that the sides worked on before closing the pact. This is a quote: "We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership," the WGA's negotiating committee wrote in an email sent to members, which we're going to actually read out just after we finish breaking down this article. So the strike itself will still be enforced through the guild's contract approval and ratification process, but picketing has been suspended as of Sunday night. Guild leaders are expected to vote on Tuesday whether to formally lift the strike order against AMPTP signatories. So basically this means the strike is still going on. They're not going to be outside of the studios and the picket lines like all the writers have been doing, because they've come to an agreement and they've been told, okay, you guys stop this right now, but you don't go back to work until everything has been signed and everything is sorted. And so the details of the contract agreement won't be released until the final language is completed over the coming days. WGA leadership expects to vote on Tuesday on the final pact. First, the negotiating committee will vote on whether to recommend that the deal to go to a vote of the board of the WGA West and the council of WGA East. Basically, it's like split in 2 directions because of the 2 major hubs being Los Angeles and also New York. So assuming both of these votes approve the pact, the contract will be sent out for ratification by WGA's 11,000 members, and I'm not sure if it has to be unanimous. Like, I think maybe it's just based on majority of the membership, but I have no idea, so don't quote me on that. So after nearly a 5-month-long strike, the work stoppage began on May 2nd earlier this year. It's highly likely to pass muster with members, especially with the enthusiastic endorsement of WGA leaders. The guild made a point of crediting the power it enjoys thanks to the extreme solidarity and shoe leather activism demonstrated by members. From the start of the walkout, both WGA East and West marshaled impressive picket line operations that hinged on the managerial work of dozens of strike captains. So basically, they organized the strike and where people would be, who they would be protesting against, outside of like different streaming services, like locations, and also the big film studios, of course. So members on both coasts in other production hubs organized themselves into picket strike teams that zeroed in on picket activity to shutter productions that tried to keep shooting completed scripts after the WGA pencils went down, because as you guys know, when SAG wasn't striking, so the actors were still available, they were still shooting finished WGA scripts, but they tried to stop those. And so SAG, the Actors Guild, which has also been on strike since July 14th, was quick to congratulate the WGA on getting over the biggest hurdles with the studios. Says SAG congratulates the WGA on reaching a tentative agreement with AMPTP after 146 days of incredible strength, resiliency, and solidarity on the picket lines. While we look forward to reviewing the WGA and the studio's tentative agreement, we remain committed to achieving the necessary terms for our members. Since the day the WGA strike began, SAG-AFTRA members have stood alongside the writers on the picket lines. We remain on strike in our TV/theatrical contract and continue to urge the studio and streamer CEOs and the AMPTP to return to the table to make a fair deal that our members deserve and demand. So, this is obviously the next step after they've figured out WGA, because basically I think the studios are very desperate to get writers back, to get projects underway, and then they can sort out the acting strike. So I think, this was definitely the order that they had to go about it when they were eventually ready to make a deal. And, thankfully it's actually happening sooner rather than later, especially with this WGA thing actually going through. And so let's go ahead and read out what WGA actually sent to their members. They say, "Dear members, we have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on deal points subject to drafting final contract language. What we have won in this contract, most particularly everything we have gained since May 2nd, is due to the willingness of this membership to exercise its power, to demonstrate solidarity, to walk side by side, to endure the pain and uncertainty of the last 146 days. It is the leverage generated by your strike in concert with the extraordinary support of our union siblings that finally brought the companies back to the table to make a deal. We can say that with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership." So there you go, that is their statement, and this is looking good right now. And obviously the studios, after realizing how much money they were actually losing compared to what would have happened if they actually agreed a deal, which would have been way less money for them to actually lose by just paying a little bit more to WGA by amending their contract, and same thing for SAG. I think they've realized, okay, we can't just keep this going and lose 500 million for not even like a whole year, for like 5-6 months. And obviously with the actors now joining with the writers, obviously it made it just even worse and everything came to a standstill. So this is definitely a historic agreement, and this will allow, once the final writing and language is sorted out in the next couple of days, hopefully you'll start to see writers go back and they get paid fairly, and obviously they get all the protection that they need, especially with AI growing and, that being a huge threat to their jobs and, the future. So it seems everything is working out, and I would love to see, the news that Superman Lois's writers and the showrunner Todd Helbing has gone back to the drawing board, and now they're going to start pre-production for season 4 of Superman Lois specifically. Obviously to me and to you Arrowverse fans out there, that is the main reason that we are very excited to hear that WGA has reached an agreement with the studios, because it's just like been a thing that we've been waiting for a long time, and it has been very uncertain as to when like our show that we've been looking forward to is going to be coming back for our next season. Now with this, I can pretty confidently say, if the actors actually get their deal sorted out in the next month or so, you would hope that with the writers coming back in the next, say, 2 weeks from now, I guess would be like a fair amount of time. Maybe it might even take up to a month. We'll have to wait and see what the process is like to getting the writers' room back together. I can definitely see Superman and Lois getting started sometime in the new year with shooting, with some of the scripts already finished, and them hashing out those 10 episodes as they head into the new year. And I could definitely see a summer 2024 release date for Superman and Lois Season 4, which we're all very much so looking forward to. Obviously, talking about Superman and Lois and the CW specifically, obviously that's a different thing to all these strikes. That's going to be another thing because we've had all these budget cuts, and so half of the characters aren't going to be series regulars, so some of those actors will show up again, some of them won't show up again. It's only going to be 10 episodes, so it's going to be a very different season, but at least it gives the writers a little bit less to write about, and basically we can see some sort of speeding up of the process. Plus also there's less actors and I guess less time to think about all these different storylines. It's going to be potentially more streamlined, which some people would see as a good thing, but also I think it is a bad thing that we're going to be missing out on a lot of what we had in the past that has formed the DNA of Superman and Lois. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. That about does it. This is obviously huge breaking news for all of Hollywood and all of the fans who are waiting for their shows or any films to go forward, or just generally for things to start moving. So yeah, this is very good news. We'll have to wait and see when the actors come to an agreement with the studios, hopefully sometime in the next month or so. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. It would really help this video get out there. Also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video. But for now, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.